morning, everyone, and welcome to our backyard. Today's video is a little bit of just some discoveries that I've had out in the gardens. I'm going to be doing my May garden tour shortly in the next couple of days, and I wanted to just come around and do a couple of things, just point out a few things that aren't going to necessarily make it into that garden tour. My name is Crystal, and I garden south of Houston along the Texas Gulf Coast in Zone 9B. We have hot and humid weather, and we have heavy clay soil that we deal with when we garden. In the last few days, 2 or 3 days, we've gotten over 2.5 inches of rain. We really needed it, and so the gardens are responding. You can see, it's still wet, and some things got broken. We had a little bit of high winds, and one of them was a thunderstorm, and so I've got to come out here and do a little bit of repair, but not much. One of the things that I noticed that I wanted to share with you is I had a whole bunch. I had 18 that we counted. Eastern black swallowtail caterpillars of various sizes. Some were actually pretty large in this fennel. Isn't this fennel just gorgeous? It is so fluffy and just beautiful. And I saw the Eastern black swallowtail female lay eggs multiple times, actually. It might have been a different butterfly, and it was just wonderful. Well, guess what? My cardinals, both the male and female cardinal, found them, and they ate them all. I found them out here. So I invite birds, as you know, I invite birds into my garden. I feed the birds because they help me with pest control. And one of the things that I have to deal with and put up with when I do that is that sometimes they will find my caterpillars and they will eat them when the birds will find them. So I don't think they did last year, and they pretty much left them alone. But this year they had a buffet, and I found both of them in here, and it was like, oh no. And so when I came out, they had eaten every single one. So I feel bad, but I don't feel horrible, because that's why I have them here. And unfortunately, the Eastern black swallowtail caterpillars are super yummy because there's so many things that love to eat them. Whereas the pipevine swallowtail caterpillars, which is right across the way from the fennel, they leave them alone. They taste horrible to them, and they cause very much upset stomachs, and so they learn to leave these guys alone. And for the most part, I've not had a lot of caterpillars here, but the ones that I've had, I've seen like 3 or 4 very large ones, which is exciting. Okay, let me go on to the next item I want to show you. This is my drift of Stokes aster, and it is just wonderful. Look at this. The flowers are going to be opening up more as the sun comes up, so they're a little bit closed at the moment. My pipevine swallowtails that are in the garden absolutely are visiting this flower. They love this flower. Look at all these new buds coming. So now this is only my second year that I have grown this, and last year it did not flower like this. So these are the 2 original plants that I planted, and I wanted more because I really liked what I saw, and so I bought 3 more to create a drift of 5, and I absolutely love what it's doing. Isn't that beautiful? I love the color. The flower color is just gorgeous. It's like this bluish hue it's not coming across, it's coming across way more purple on the video, but it's got almost a periwinkle color to it. It is beautiful. And then tucked back behind it, I had a returning Cheyenne Spirit coneflower. So this one's taken a little bit longer. Oops, let me get this back here. And I'm really curious to this color. I think we'll see. So it's next to the Cheyenne Spirit here, but it's behind, it's kind of in between my Stokes Aster. So we'll see if it can push up high enough, because Cheyenne Spirit does get pretty tall. Okay, next item. As you can see down here, I've got a candlestick alata, and that is the candlestick tree that I started from seed this spring, and not too long ago actually. And I soaked 4 seeds, and one kind of looked like it was coming to life, and when I planted it, I figured I would see that one, and I have not seen any of the others. I am so excited because I did have a candlestick tree last year, but they don't survive freezes. What I have read is they will easily germinate. And so I thought, okay, let's try this, because I wanted it in my garden. Last year I had it in a container, and this year I wanted it in the garden. So I am very hopeful that that will start to grow. The fun part of that is it is a host plant to the yellow butterflies that we have, all the sulfurs that we have here. And a fun fact is the leaves close up at night and then they open up during the day. So I want that little guy to just grow, grow, grow. And the other thing I'm excited is I ordered from Joyful Butterfly, I ordered 4 plants, milkweed plants that are native to the Houston area. And this is what's called green milkweed, and it seems to be doing well. It's kind of back, I've got it across 2 beds here, kind of tucked in, and I am really, really hopeful. It looks like there's been some munching going on the leaves, so I am hopeful that this will be able to stay and it will come back. So I'm excited to get the green milkweed. Behind it, I planted, and I've had very good luck throughout my time here pollinator gardening, this is a balloon milkweed. I'm going to go on the other side. Well, before I do, let me come in and show you who's here. There is 2 adorable caterpillars, and they've been growing and eating and munching on the balloon milkweed here. Let me go to the other side now. So this is why it's called a balloon milkweed. Isn't that hysterical? These are the seed pods and they look like these balloons. And so I am so excited that these little guys have not been found. And they are on and just munching away. But I have been very successful. Balloon milkweed is only an annual for us, so it does not come back. It just grows and it flowers and creates its seed pods, these nice balloons, and then it finishes. And so we don't have any problems with balloon milkweed. It's not native here, but it is very well adapted to our area. And 2 years ago I had those balloons rupture and I had a lot of seeds, I guess, disperse, and they dispersed in my trellis garden bed, and I had lots of balloon milkweed come up that spring, and it was a feast haven for the monarchs that were migrating through, and they laid tons of eggs on it, and I was so happy. And I wish I would have thrown out seeds again, because in the early spring they grow well and not everything has grown up around it. And so it's really, really good to have balloon milkweed in the early spring. So I'm excited both for the native and for those two little guys. Hopefully they will make it. And they are amongst my giant milkweed here. So when I look out in this south garden, I've got beautiful giant milkweed. So there's a lot of milkweed to choose from back here. But I'm most excited and hopeful for this green milkweed right here. All right. So the next thing I'm going to share is kind of odd. You know that I absolutely am a fan of porterweed. This is a red porterweed. Oh, isn't this wonderful? Look at that. And the pollinators absolutely love porterweed. I have red. Let me try to. I have purple. I have pink. And I have a coral back in there. And then I have others also throughout the garden. This is just right in through here. But last year I had some volunteer porterweed, and boy did they grow and grow and grow. And the volunteer was in this bed, and I regretted it because it pretty much overtook the bed. So now that I look here, I've got it's a low spot, and you can see that the grass is having a difficult time this spring growing here. But look at all these porterweed. Oh my goodness. I'm guessing these are blue, but my husband is really curious because it was right next to the red plant. I mean, blue was right here in the bed, and it looks like I'm gonna have to take these out. I don't want these in the bed. I am going to, I hope anyway, I hope I pull up a few of these, dig these up and put them in containers, because I'd really like to see what they bloom. This would be then, blue porterweed just reseeds prolifically for me. And it seeds in other parts of the garden. For instance, let me show you again. I only had my blue porterweed plant over here. And this is quite a distance, but the seeds did come over here. And so I had a volunteer, lots of blue porterweed here. I've never had a red reseed yet, except I think the dwarf red has, but not a regular red. And this is going to be interesting to see if this has all reseeded. So, on that one. Then on the other side, let me go over here. So I plant a purple porterweed in this container. And on this side, I had a purple porterweed volunteer. So again, I was shocked because I've not really had any colors reseed except blue. And that was the only other color I had reseed. Now, that's the normal porterweed. Let me show you the other. So this is in another garden bed, and my dwarf porterweed is starting to grow very, very nicely. And I replaced it because it died in the freeze. Porterweed are tender. They typically don't survive freezes for us here. And I purchased a new one and planted it this spring. Well, look what I have all throughout here. So I need to dig a few of these up before I pull them up. This looks like that plant. And if that's true, that would have been hundreds of seeds. Look at this. This is a dwarf red porterweed, and the name is really a misnomer because for us it does not get to be a dwarf. We have such a long growing season, and oh my goodness, that was huge last year. By late fall, that had already overgrown the whole area around here and completely was tall and huge and just bloomed was a pollinator magnet the whole year long. That's why it has a place in my garden, because it attracts pollinators profusely. And so I am just shocked though with all these little volunteers. So if my hunch is correct, that receded, and it receded prolifically. I never deadheaded it once it got to a certain size. I just couldn't. There was so much. But look at this. That is insane with how many. I pulled up all the volunteers along in through here, but it is just all over. So that's interesting to me, if that is a prolific reseeder. I'll have to keep you posted. All right. In this same area, I'm also super excited because it looks like the liatris that I planted this spring from bulbs is going to start. It's creating its bloom spikes, and it looks like it's going to start to flower soon. So in June, I should have liatris spikes over here blooming. And I mentioned the reason I planted all these liatris here is because of it was kind of bare here until the dwarf porterweed started to take off. And so I wanted all of the liatris to be growing and blooming and just filling in this area until that little plant wasn't little anymore. All right. When I brought Greg's mist flower into my garden, and that is this plant down here, it was nicely all throughout here, and it actually started to really grow in this particular garden. And so I started pulling it up a little bit because I didn't want it overtaking, and there's no way it could overtake this garden. The salvia and the lantana just grow too well. But I have Greg's mist flower in another area of my garden that's doing very well. But the reason I wanted to show you this is a native, and it is poking up in through the lantana, and it has a little bit of flowering going on right now. This is a huge attractor. It's a native. Greg's mist flower is a native to our area, and it is a wonderful nectar plant for monarchs and queen butterflies. And I had shared with you earlier that it is actually contains a compound that is really important in queen butterfly mating and development of the eggs and the caterpillars. And so the males need a compound or a substance in this flower, and so I have more queens in the yard because of adding this flower. This is not a great stand of it because it's having to poke itself through here, but I wanted to share that the monarchs love this flower too, and I have had monarchs on this week. So it's been really fun. I saw a monarch chrysalis. I found one in the garden. It looked like it was pretty newly opened, and that might be the female monarch that I have seen in the garden the last couple of days. Anyway, she found these tiny, this little sprig here of Greg's mist flower and just went through each one of these and fully explored the tiny little flowers here. So it is, if you're thinking on wanting to attract queens and monarchs to your garden, this is a good addition. The only thing that you have to do is be careful because it will start to grow, and if you don't control it, it will begin to take over a flower bed. So this is another one of my flower beds that I have it tucked in all throughout here, and I'm letting it do its thing back here, and it's doing wonderfully. This has not flowered yet back through here amongst the Salvia farinacea. But this is one of the areas that I have kind of dedicated for Greg's mist flower. I shared with you my Turk's cap is just starting to flower. It's been flowering a little bit, and it's just starting to flower well. This is also a native flower. It looks almost like an unopened, very little hibiscus flower. And this is visited a lot by hummingbirds and pollinators throughout our area. I've had Turk's cap now for quite a few years, and I do have it in containers. This is in morning sun. It does much better than the one that I have in shade. It does need some sun, but if it's in full sun down here, it's a little bit tough on it just because of the intense heat that we get. So morning sun for me has been great, but also having them in containers so they don't spread has been pretty successful also. And the last thing I want to share with you this very early morning is my native passion vine that I told you that I had saved over the winter. Took a cutting before our freeze and saved, and 1 out of 4 cuttings survived for me. And so I have this planted out, and it is nicely starting to grow up the bamboo pole here. And so I am really excited. Let me kind of pan back. I have, as I've shared, this trellis. This happens to be a hybrid called Incense that has a beautiful purple flower that will open once the sun starts hitting it. But I have this dedicated all over to these trellises. But on this other end, I have this native. So let me go over there. And my husband put up bamboo poles for it to come up, and then also fishing line to get it so it will attach to this trellis. And the reason I'm showing you this is because hands down, I've had this now growing in my garden for 4 years, I think now. And I'm a little distracted by the woodpecker. Hands down, the Gulf fritillary butterflies prefer laying their eggs on this one. This is called the cottonleaf passion vine. It is native to Texas. So it is so preferred over this huge spants. Now they will lay eggs here also, but they prefer this plant. And so we're really trying to get this plant going. It's somewhat protected over here or hidden. My neighbor has a couple of volunteer trees. The neighbors behind us, I know that's a volunteer because that's a seed from ours. And they're back against the fence. And this is an oak. And unfortunately, those neighbors don't take care of their yard. They don't even mow. So it does kind of obscure this, and this is getting to be more and more in shaded for morning sun. It does get, once noon hits, it gets afternoon sun all throughout the rest of the day. So we're trying to get this native passion vine a really good way to start climbing, because it's interesting how the butterflies actually prefer this one. Well, thank you for joining me today. Check back in the next few days because I will have my May garden tour. I think May is probably one of the prettiest months for the garden that we have down here before the hot and brutal summers hit. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day today. and I hope to see you again soon.